everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Leah Clinay back with another video. Today is July 1st, so although you guys won't see this on July 1st, obviously we still gonna set the tone for a new month, a new start, an opportunity to kind of start fresh in a sense. I always like to use like the beginnings of my months, my weeks. Obviously everybody do New Year's resolutions and stuff, so like I just look at the beginning of the week, the beginning of the month, even each day. Actually, like when you wake up and start a new day, that's an opportunity to do something different, to work on something, to just simply enjoy life, you feel me? Although I would love for myself and for y'all to be able to get to a point where we can have that mentality in the middle of the month, or in the middle of the week, or the middle of the year, whatever. Even those hump days, you know, Wednesdays, or even those towards the end of the month when it's been whooping your butt and you don't feel like you can make it. You know, whatever the case is, I want us to still implement that, like, that opportunity mindset, regardless of the weekday or time. But with all of that being said, beginning of the month, the beginning of the week, whatever, it's just a perfect chance just to kind of pick up that momentum where you may have lost it at some point. And today I wanted to focus on let's see if I can get my words and my thoughts together. I want to focus on how important it is to do the inner work, and how important it is to work on yourself continuously, pour into yourself, and deal with you know, and me deal with me on a daily basis. Because sometimes I feel like we get so caught up in like our relationships, our friendships, our community, our career, and that's normal because we're humans and we're needed in those spaces. But we also have to understand that we can't show up in those spaces if we're not showing up for ourselves. If you're not taking care of you, you're going to show up poorly in your relationship. If you're not taking care of you, you're going to show up poorly in your friendships. If you're not taking care of you, you're going to show up poorly in your community. If you're not taking care of you, wherever you show up, you're going to be showing up as the worst part of yourself. And we're all human, so we all can sit here and reflect and think about the things about us that, you know, aren't so good to an extent, or things that we want to work on. So if you aren't like working on yourself and like taking care of yourself and pouring into you, those parts come back up. And we all know that we don't want to be that towards people, because we don't want to experience the worst parts of other people either. Because we all have experienced the worst part of people. For example, in relationships, you know, you may deal with somebody cheating on you, lying to you, being mean, whatever the case is. And I'm not justifying them when I say this, but a lot of times those actions come from that person struggling within their self. It has nothing to do with you, but because they decided not to work on that aspect of their self, or to give themselves what they needed in that moment of time, they leaned into the weaker parts of them. So now they're showing up as their worst part for you, and you were affected by that in that relationship. So think of it that way. All the times we've been affected by other people and their actions, we also have to understand that there are times that the way that we show up in certain places and show up for certain people, we also are projecting onto them and their experiences. They're hurt by us because of our actions and because of how we showed up. Just like we don't want others to make us feel that way, we don't want to make others feel that way either. A lot of times we forget to show up for us, and not for anybody else. The first point that I want to make, or at least the first topic that I want to touch on, is our habits, or whatever those things that we want to work on, those things that we want to achieve on a day-to-day basis, or long-term, short-term, whatever the case is. I want us to look at working on those things as an opportunity, as a form of self-love, instead of looking at it as a job or a chore, or, you know, something that you just have to cross off your to-do list for the day. Because I have that habit sometimes, like, and it's good to have a game plan each day or each week, whatever. But like sometimes I get so caught up in like, okay, I have to get X, Y, Z done. I have to do this. I have to do that. And sometimes I get lost in just getting it done, and I forget why I'm doing it in the first place. And sometimes I don't allow myself to enjoy the moment because I'm so focused on just crossing off something on a to-do list. And sometimes when I, you know, want to implement better habits within myself and in my life, I dread it, or like I look at it as such a hassle, you know what I'm saying? And I had to like check myself, because I'm like, you know, it's easy for me to sit here and do things that aren't good for me with no hesitation. I'm gonna be on time for that drink. I'm gonna make sure I don't miss the liquor store. I make time for certain things that may not be so good for me because I want to do it. So I'm like, the things that are good for me that, yeah, may take a little more energy to an extent, or may just be hard to pick up that momentum with creating a habit, why can't I switch my perspective to look at it like something that I'm going to enjoy doing. I'm going to have fun doing it. You know, I'm going to love doing it, and I'm going to be happy that I did it after the fact, versus looking at it like I have to do this. This is just something I need to cross off my to-do list. I feel like that will help us in moving forward with creating better habits and sticking to them, because it's easy to, like, you know, think of things that we need to do, or things that you gotta, you know, get a better control over or whatever, but it's a lot harder to actually stick to them. And that's because we tend to look at it like, I gotta make sure I do this 4 times a week. I gotta make sure when I get up today that I do this and that. So recently I've been going for walks, and I told myself I wanted to eventually get to the point where, you know, I can actually start doing more and different kinds of exercises, whether it's at home or getting in the gym. And I told myself, if I just start with walking, I'll get there. If I just start with a 30-minute walk every day or every other day, eventually it'll turn into an hour walk. Eventually it'll turn into, you know, 5 days a week versus 3 days a week. And eventually, you know, I'll gain the momentum to start running or jogging. And eventually I'll gain the momentum and the confidence to start doing other stuff. And then eventually, you know, other stuff just starts coming with it. I'll probably want to start eating better, just because I feel better from the physical aspect. And when I started, I told myself I'm not going to go into doing this or starting this habit with the results being the focus. I'm going to go into this with enjoying the moment being the focus, with enjoying the process and the journey, and falling in love with just choosing myself when I decide to go for that 30-minute walk or hour walk. I said that's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on what it does for me mentally, and, you know, falling in love with the act versus the result, because the result is going to come either way regardless of what I do. If I miss out on a walk and I decide to stop doing it, the results are going to show that. If I decide to keep doing it, be consistent, the results are going to show that. The results are always going to come with the action. But if you're only focusing on the result, sometimes you get discouraged and you stop before you can even get there, because it's not coming fast enough for you, or it's frustrating because, you know, it don't seem like it's here yet. So that's why I told myself, let me go into this with focusing on what it does for me mentally, and focusing on falling in love with the process. That's changing my perspective on the physical activity. So it helps me be able to get up that day and go do it. Or when I get done with work, you know, I tell myself, it's just 30 minutes. It's just an hour of your time that you would have went home and just sat there and scrolled for anyway. You know, like, it's not that deep. It's gonna be okay. That's why I say I want to go into doing my better habits with a different mindset and a different perspective, so I can execute them in a healthy way versus a way that is only going to tire me out, discourage me. The good habits that may be a little harder to stick by shouldn't be dreaded, but rather looked at as an opportunity to love myself more. Let me repeat that. The good habits that may be a little harder to stick to shouldn't be dreaded, but rather looked at as an opportunity to love myself. to love myself just a little more. So I'm going to look at me getting up and clocking in as an opportunity to love myself. I'm going to look at me getting up and going for a walk as an opportunity to love myself. I'm going to look at me finding ways to implement better eating habits as a way to love myself. I'm going to look at me trying to not drink as much as a way to love myself a little bit more. So look at it as an opportunity, not, because that's the problem. We go into some of these things and we look at it as it's taken away from us because we don't want to do it, because it's taking away time, or it's hard, or it's, you know, whatever. But it's really something that you're gaining. You just can't see it in that moment. Given that today is the 1st of the month, July 1st, a lot of us, you know, we might have been slacking the first part of this year, the first half. So let's take this as an opportunity for these last few months, this last half of the year, to do better. Step by step, day by day, to do better. These last 6 months are very personal. I don't know who needs to hear this. Well, I know I myself need to hear it, but I don't know who else needs to hear this. But these last 6 months are very personal, because me and you both know there are some things that we know that we're more than capable of. We know that we are destined for. We know that we are going to be blessed with. We just maybe have slacked on the discipline part, on the implementing part, on the intentional part. Because you can have these goals and visions, but you have to apply yourself. God will meet you halfway. God will even meet you more than halfway, but you have to do something. So these last 6 months are very personal. There's no need to keep waiting. Because guess what? Life is going to life. There's going to be things that come along the way that force you to sit down for a little bit, that force you to take a step back, to force you to, you know, it's not happening fast enough in that moment because of something that happened. So those times are going to come. So don't add on to that. Don't add on to the delay, quote unquote. Do what you can with what you have now. Because time don't wait for us. Time is not waiting for us. Time is not going to wait for us. So these last 6 months are very personal. In a healthy way though, not in a boastful way, in a conceited way like you have a point to prove to the world or to your friends or to your community or to your city. No. To social media, no, that's not what I mean. I mean they're personal to you, because you know where you are lacking. You know the things that you have to work on. You know the gift that you have, and you know that you haven't been stewarding it right. You haven't been taking care of it. You haven't been tending to it how you should. Therefore, you're not able to show up in the world how you're supposed to, what you're meant to show up as. People aren't able to receive from you what it is that you're supposed to give them, because you have some work to do. Practice your own love languages on yourself. Oftentimes, our love languages are really second nature. We just sometimes maybe like keep ourselves from actually acting on them because of triggers or because of fear. And sometimes I feel like we get caught up in, what am I receiving back? You know, me putting my love language forward, what am I getting from it? Which is a valid question in certain scenarios, because you don't want to drain yourself. But at the same time, if those are your natural love languages, it shouldn't really matter what you get in return. You just have to act how you were meant to act, and what's for you is going to come. It's going to be for you. What's for you is going to come back times 10. So even if you are practicing your love languages in certain areas and situations in your life, and you don't feel that you're receiving, you know, what you should, or you're not getting any reciprocation, that's okay. It's coming. It's going to come from something else that you maybe wasn't thinking of. But you're going to get it back, baby. You just got to keep doing you. You got to keep practicing your love languages genuinely. And it's going to come back. That's why it's important. Sometimes we get so caught up in focusing on giving others our love languages, we don't even give ourselves our own love languages. If your love language is words of affirmation, speak kindly to yourself. Speak highly to yourself. You know, constantly remind yourself what it is that you want in this life and what it is that you deserve, and who you are, and remind yourself of all the good qualities and attributes that you have. If your love language is acts of service, get up and do something for yourself. Take yourself out to eat, you know, take yourself shopping. I don't mean spend all your money, but do a self-care day, do a self-care night. Paint yourself a picture. Cause I painted somebody a picture one time and they didn't even hang it up. They didn't even hang it up. They didn't even say thank you. I appreciate this so much. So guess what? I painted myself some pictures. You see them? And I got some more in my room too. You feel me? Whatever your love language is, do it for yourself. And it's gonna feel so much better showing up for yourself in the way that you want others to show up for you. Whether we want to accept this reality of what I'm about to say, we're human and everybody's different. Everybody's wired differently. Everybody thinks differently, and everybody have different love languages, different ways that they show up for people. So sometimes we may be expecting us out of other people, but that's just not always going to be the case. We want this person to show up for us. You want your boyfriend to show up for you in the way that you want him to. You want your cousin to show up for you in the way that you would show up for her. You want your mama, your daddy, your aunties, your friends to show up for you how you know you would show up for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting reciprocation. But at the same time, you just have to focus on showing up for you how you want to be showed up for. You have to show up for yourself how you want others to show up for you. Because there may come a day, there may come a time where those people can't show up for you how you want them to. And you're going to be left feeling drained, because if they're not doing it, you're not receiving it any point in your life. That's why it's important to show up for yourself. Take care of yourself. Pour into yourself. That way, when others don't how we think they should, it'll be okay. It's going to be okay, because you know you got you at the end of the day. You know God got you at the end of the day. You know that you're going to be fine regardless, because you love yourself, because God loves you, because you're needed, you're valued. Yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. And to my loyal supporters, I know y'all noticed something different. I ain't even gonna say nothing. But I know y'all noticed something different. I ain't gonna say nothing. But all I'm gonna say is I know you noticed something different. Your girl dyed her hair. Yep. It's cute or whatever. This is the end of the video. That's all I really wanted to say. I love y'all so much. If you haven't heard it today, I love you. I care about you. I want the best for you. I want you to give yourself everything that you deserve. That way, if others don't, you'll be okay. And everything that I'm saying or have said or will continue to say, I promise you, I'm human too. I need to hear it too. So that's the only reason that I'm saying this. So don't feel alone. Don't feel like you're alone out here, because you're not. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment. Talk to me. I talk back. Follow me on Instagram for, you know, more content. I want to get back into posting more on my Instagram and stuff, and create a space for conversation and, you know, safe space as well. Like, I have people DM me sometimes, and I love having those conversations with people. I'm gonna leave y'all alone now. Sip my wine, but work on my stuff at the same time, because I'm gonna practice what I preach.